I am so excited to be able to share this with you. So 76%, that's how much better your AI responses can get from one change that takes 3 seconds and cost you nothing. And I don't mean marginally better. I mean the difference between an output you accept versus an output you actually want to use. And I'm going to show you exactly what that change is. And then I'm going to show you the second move that stacks on top of it and takes things even further. 2 steps, no new tools, nothing to install, just a smarter way of using what you've already got. So Stack Overflow did this big survey last year, nearly 50,000 people across 177 countries. And they asked, what's your biggest frustration with AI tools? And the number one answer from 66% of the respondents wasn't that AI gets things wrong. It was that it gets things almost right. That's kind of like close, but not quite kind of thing. 2/3 of people using these tools every day are walking away thinking, I know that could have been better. And that tracks completely with my experience too. And maybe yours too. You get something back and it's fine. It's structured, checks the boxes, but there's something flat about it. And you can't really put your finger on what that actually is, right? And if you've tried to create anything with AI, you know what I mean. You try to hand an idea to AI, something real and specific, and what comes back has all the edges like sanded off. It could have been written for basically anyone. The thing that made it interesting to you in the first place is just now gone. And that's not an AI problem. That's a prompt problem. And once I figured out why it kept happening, that's when things really started to change, right? So what we're going to do, and I know that this is going to sound weird. This first part of this is going to sound ridiculous. And I'm just going to call it right up there up front, right? What you do is you write your prompt, then copy and paste the exact same prompt directly below it. The same message, the same words, just twice. That's the whole step. And I know how that sounds, but Google just happened to put out a research paper in late 2025 that looked at this exact behavior. And what they found was that simply repeating the prompt improved accuracy by up to 76% across a wide range of everyday tasks. Not 10%. Not 20, 76% from copy and paste. And I know that might sound like a bunch of BS, but this is why it works. When the model sees your exact words twice, instead of making assumptions about what you probably meant, which is actually what it's doing by default, well, instead it locks in on what you actually said. It stops drifting. It commits to your request instead of interpretation of your request. Right? One prompt can leave a lot of room for the model to fill in gaps with its own assumptions. But 2 prompts, that actually closes the gap. It's not magic. It's actually just math working for you instead of against you, right? So once you've done that and you've gotten the response back from pasting the prompt in there twice, right? You've got your response back from that double prompt. This is where it actually gets really, really good, right? So you take that entire response, you copy that whole response and paste it into a brand new chat message, not the current chat. Make sure of that, right? And then you just add this at the end. You are a ruthless editor who loves my idea, who loves the idea, but wants it to win. Tear this apart. What's weak, generic, unclear, or missing, then rewrite it fully improved right now. That's the second step. You're turning the AI into its own editor, right? You're not asking it to try again. You're not rephrasing your request. You're making it go back through its own output, find the problems it introduced the first time, and fix them in the same move. And here's the thing that most people don't realize. When you delete a bad output and just reprompt, you're kind of still you. There might still be the same blind spots, the same description of the thing. So you're going to get roughly the same result. This self-critique loop breaks that cycle because you're not the one editing. The model is going back through its own logic, finding where it played it safe or reached for the obvious angle. And that is a fundamentally different process, right? So watching it actually do this is actually really kind of fascinating because it'll come back and say things like, this section is too vague. This title lacks urgency, or this explanation assumes knowledge the reader does not have. It finds its own blind spots. Then the rewrite comes back with those things corrected. And the reason the double prompt matters here is that it gives the self-critique better raw material to work with. A more focused first response means a more accurate critique. And a more accurate critique means an even bigger jump in the rewrite, right? The two steps actually compound each other. Repetition sharpens the input. The self-critique refines the output. Together, they do a lot more than just one of them does alone, right? So again, here's the full method and when to reach for it. So step 1, write your prompt, paste it again directly below, send. Step 2, copy that response in a new chat, paste it back, add the critique, and rewrite instructions. And this is worth pulling out anytime the output actually matters, like a script, a pitch, something you're going to send to a client or publish or record. For throwaway tasks like quick lookups, simple formatting, stuff you're not really keeping, this is complete overkill. But the moment quality matters, this is the move. And this works in Claude, it works in ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, whatever you're already using. Now, real quick, before you go run this, there's one other thing that's worth knowing, because how you deploy step 2 actually changes depending on what you're working on, right? So the prompt that I gave you earlier does the critique and the rewrite in one single response. And for a lot of tasks, that's completely fine. But there's a situation where splitting it into 2 separate messages gets you noticeably better results. So this is kind of the issue. When you ask AI to critique and rewrite in the same response, well, it's generating a lot of text before it ever starts the rewrite. And by the time it gets to the actual rewrite, it's working from deeper in a long response. And longer responses can drift. The precision at token 800 isn't the same as the precision at token 100. It's subtle, but it's real. But when you split it, critique first, then a follow-up message to rewrite, the rewrite starts fresh. The critique is right at the top of the attention window, like a clean brief. The model hits the rewrite at full focus instead of midstream. So here's the simple rule. Short content, an email, a social post, a product description, use the one-shot prompt. It's fast and it's effective. But if it's longer content, a script, a full article, a blog post, detailed proposal, split it. Believe me, the extra 30 seconds is worth it every single time. But there's also one additional bonus of the 2-step version. You get to read the critique before the rewrite happens. So if the AI flags something you disagree with, you can just tell it, actually keep that part, but fix everything else before it bakes the change into the new version. One shot removes that control entirely. 2 steps keeps you in charge. One small caveat here. Results will vary depending on the tool you're using, but also on how specific your original prompt was. This isn't a magic fix for a vague, bad prompt. Remember, the clearer your starting point, the bigger the jump you'll see from the critique loop. So here's both versions. And don't worry, I'm going to have a Notion doc available for you in the description with the prompts. So here it is. So the one shot for short content. Again, you are a ruthless editor who loves the idea but wants it to win. Tear this apart. What's weak, generic, unclear, missing. Then rewrite it fully improved right now. The 2-step for that longer content, the more important content, is you send this first. You are a ruthless editor who loves the idea but wants it to win. Tear this apart. What's weak, generic, unclear, or missing? List every suggestion you'd make if you were going to rewrite this. Then read the critique. If anything feels wrong, push back. Just reply with what you want to keep or change before the rewrite. Then, once that's done, then send. Now rewrite it fully improved based on that feedback. Same energy. It's the same standard. You just control when the actual rewrite happens. So as a recap, here's the complete picture. Step 1, double prompt. You write it, copy it, paste it again right below, hit send. It's going to sharpen the input. Step 2, the self-critique. Paste the response back in a brand new chat and add the editor prompt. It refines the output. And then step 3, choose your mode. 1 shot for short content, 2 steps for anything longer. That's it. It costs nothing. It takes 2 extra minutes, and the output difference on anything that actually matters is really kind of hard to argue with. So here's your challenge. Find the last AI output that you looked at and thought, well, this is fine, but I thought it would be better, or I know it could be better. Paste it in a new message. Add the 1-shot prompt if it's short, or the 2-step version if it's longer, and run it. Then come back and drop a comment letting me know what it flagged, because a lot of people are actually surprised by what it catches. I know that I have been, because sometimes it finds points that the output was too generic. Sometimes it finds that it catches a tone problem that wasn't noticeable. So I'm actually really curious as to what actually happens for you. But other than that, that's it. That's the method, right? I hope this was helpful. I hope you find this useful and you go out and you use it and find some tremendous results with it. But other than that, this is Craig. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.